Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sound Can Talk, the home of everyone, the home of every man, the home of every person. I want to welcome you for the night where we're having the political open forum show, the show that gives you the understanding and the capability to get to know your politics and where the nation is going to. I want to welcome you all. Feel free and be part and parcel of this as we are having the discussion tonight. So I'll be your host, Aisha Gizo, and I'll be joining up with other panelists. So please just tell me where you're watching me from. Good. Welcome back. For tonight, we are having a great conversation here, and we'll be checking more details through the conversation. And tonight, on the conversation line, we are checking about the story that's being led up or it's being brought up by the controversial, whereby the Kisii Governor says that Ruto should join or it should go back to ODM party, Raila's ODM party. I don't know why she thinks so, but maybe we'll not get to know the details. But what I want to ask you, please tell me where you're watching me from, and it'll be good so that we can watch together and we can have the good conversation together. Please join me in the show. Let's have this conversation together. Welcome back. Tonight we are having the great conversation of about Ruto saying that he wants the guy say the Kisii governor saying that Ruto should join back ODM because he was there. Also Mudavadi and also the other people from the ODM. And this thing has got of the controversial because the reaction from Wananchi is different from what I don't know what they expected or why they were thinking that will go come through. We'll be also checking those details because I want to hear from you. Please tell me, Shadizo, tafadhali, I'm getting from this point and I want to contribute to the matter. What do you feel? What do you see the reaction between the people or among the people on the issue or the controversial story that Ruto should join up UDA? You should leave UDA and come join and join Kenya, come join ODM. Do you feel it is worthy? What is your opinion about that? What is your take about that? Please, I want to like me to join me. Let us have this conversation because indeed this conversation is so triggering, is so it's so challenging and it's so twisting. And I would like to hear from your side too because Wakenya nyinyi ndio mnatufanya tuko hapa na nyinyi ndio mnatuweka hapa. So if you are keeping us here, let us know or let us understand what is it or what do we supposed to do or why do we supposed to be taking this nation because this nation belongs to every Kenyan. Eh? This nation belongs to every Kenyan, and every Kenyan has a priority or has a chance to bring to or to contribute towards it, so that Kenya can be the best place ever, or can be the best or the good place ever. So I want to welcome you all. Feel free and feel part and parcel of this as even you're having the great conversation tonight, because tonight we are having this conversation. I know it is tricky conversation, but yes, tricky it is. will come to alignment with it, so because we want to bring everything into order. And I want you to please help me make sure that we are doing it in a rightful way, and we are making sure that everything goes to it. Okay, we want to congratulate and wish success to every kid that is sitting exam beginning tomorrow, moving henceforth. So we wish you all the best and wish you success. I want to also wish everyone that is joining up, let us please join up and let us have the conversation. And for the one beginning us the conversation is the news on the governor from Kisii. This is what the governor said.
Simba Arati has continued with his charm offensive to President to rejoin the Orange Party in his second stab at the presidency. Speaking at a meet and greet the people tour in Kisumu, Arati recalled the 2007 Pentagon formation as he dangled the orange to the head of state, saying that the party will form a government in the next general elections. The Kisii County boss also called on all grassroots supporters of ODM to remain steadfast, saying that the party will find its footing after the demise of Raila Odinga. The sentiments come amidst tensions within the party, with a section of members pushing for the continuation of the broad-based arrangement, with others proposing to field a candidate in the 2027 polls.
Na nimesema kwamba sasa tumeanza celebration za maisha ya baba aliyoishi hapa duniani. Tumesema kwamba baba aende salama, na chama cha ODM kitasimama imara. Eti kuna watu watauza chama, hakuna. Mimi kama deputy party leader tumeambia William Ruto, Mheshimiwa William Ruto, tumemwambia yeye alikuwa katika chama cha ODM, Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta, hata Kalonzo walikuwa ODM. Tunawaambia kumpea heshima baba, wao wakuje kutoka pale, tujiunge pamoja katika ODM, tukiana katika 2027. Chama cha ODM lazima kishinde kura 2027, ndiposa baba atubariki tukiendelea mbele.
Sema chama cha Raila ama chama cha ODM lazima kishinde kura 2027 mwaka ujao. So na swali najiuliza, Ruto akijiunga ODM, will that be sure that Kenya watashinda kura? I want to hear from you. I want to listen from you. Please, the link is on the comment section. For those who are joining up this week, please join up early so that we can have the great conversation together. This is the reaction of 190. People reacted differently from what people expected. 190 reacted differently. Let us watch this.
Kati ya Ruto na Sifuna, nani anaweza lead ama nani anafaa kulead ODM? Tumieni akili. Sifuna ameran na baba. Mpaka Raila Amolo Odinga alikuwa anasema, Sifuna akisema ni ODM imesema. ODM ikisema ni Sifuna amesema. Sasa hizi mnakuja kutuambia ati Ruto amekuja tena kuwaibia ODM. My friend, atende kutupima akili. Mimi nimefought for 15 years for ODM. 15. Nimeanguka na baba mara ngapi? 3. Hatujawahi kuwa president. Alafu sasa hivi eti mnakuja kutuambia Ruto anakuja kusema sasa hivi eti alikuwa member. Ameharibu, imagine. Ameharibu kwake. Sasa hizi ndio kuja kuharibu ODM. My friend, mkiweka Ruto ODM, inaitwaje? ODM. Ruto inaenda kubaki na wabunge 5 kama venye Kenya na nili ibaki na wabunge 5 Western. Inaenda kukufa my friend. Na kama mtatuambia Ruto atakuja sasa hii ODM, sisi tunasarenda kama member ODM. Sisi tulikuwa tumefuata baba Raila Amolo Odinga, na si mtuambie ati Ruto. Who is Ruto? Ruto rani UDA. Sisi akuja kutupanga ODM. Aweke manifesto yake wheelbarrow iendelee na yeye. Sisi baba alikuwa amesema utatupatia 6,000 kila mtu Kenya. Na sasa hii bado nakumbuka manifesto ya baba na tutai msahau forever and ever.
Amen.
Mtu mwenye tunataka kuja kupeleka ODM mbele ni Sifuna. Na Sifuna na Babu. Watu wangapi? Wawili. Sisi hatutapembelezana na hao wazee. Tulikuwa tumesema wazee waende home. Na sasa saizi hatutataka tena eti wazee wanatoka hii side. Eti mtu kama Mudavadi anakuja kukumbuka eti alikuwa Pentagon. Eti Ruto alikuwa Pentagon. Sijui Uhuru alikuwa hao wazee waende home. Na nyinyi msianze kubumbasu akili tena. Tulikuwa tumesema raundi hii ni GNC wanaongoza. Na hatutarudi nyuma. Tunasema Babu Owino mali yako. Na mimi acha nirudi niwaambie my friend. Kama mtapigia Babu Owino Nairobi governorship. Nyinyi Wajaluo, kama mtasema Babu ni Muhindi, sisi tribe zingine tutapitisha Babu Nairobi. Na tuwapembelezi. Kama mnaona mtafuatana na Ruto endeni tu. Sisi hatutapembelezana na nyinyi. Na mjue kura inakuanga ya mtu. Alafu unapata mtu anasimama hapa anasema eti Kaguya sijui Sakaje na ana kura. My friend, mimi naweza sema Babu na niko na kura ya ODM. Na ninajua ukweli tapigia Babu na atapita. Who is Kaguya? Mnataka tena kurudisha watu wenye wametugandamiza kwa uongozi karibu mara sijui ngapi. Mnataka tena kuwavuta mwarudishe kwa serikali. Ambapo baba Raila Odinga amejaribu mpaka hapa. Wametoka sasa hiyo wako nje. My friend, tusibebe ufala. Tafuteni Sifuna mali yako na Babu Owino. Watu waambie ni wapi tuenda na ODM. Hao wazee wakijua hivyo wenda. Alafu nyinyi Wajaluo. Eti mnachukua mtu, imagine Raila hata alikuwa mdogo kwa Oburu. Eti sasa hivi mnachukua Oburu ndio kiongozi. Aongoze nani? Kati ya Ruto na Sifuna, nani anaweza lead ama nani anafaa kulead ODM?
That's the reaction ya wananchi. That lady saying that kati ya Sifuna na Babu. That's the reaction from that lady. I want to listen from you. What do you think? What do you feel? What do you think about your perspective? This is how things are moving and things are getting hotter, because when things are aligning to it, you want to listen to it. You want to get more to it. You want to get to understand more about it. Where are we taking the nation? Where are we heading to? We may be just sitting there, just listening, and our nation is going in a chaotic manner, or our nation is going in a very diverse manner. So I want to listen from you. I want to hear from you. I want to listen from everyone. This is the reaction from the wananchi. What do you think? Ruto kuje ODM ama asikuje ODM? This is serious. I want to listen from Kenyans, and I want to listen from every one of you. Please, karibu studio tuelezane, njoo tusemezane. Manake ni kumoto. Let us watch this.
Member of Parliament Rashid Kassim Amin has ditched the Wiper Party for the UDA party, which he says is gaining momentum in the region. Speaking at the UDA headquarters after he was received officially to the party, Amin said residents of the region pushed him to ditch Wiper and now join UDA officially, noting the president's drive to develop the region, coupled with the 2027 power matrix, have driven him to taking a different stand. 2 years to the elections see political alignments and realignments as the political plan for the next election.
Formally defect from Wiper Democratic Party to UDA. And I want to affirm there is going to be a serious meeting that we are going to be held in Wajir grounds at a convenient time in the near future, so that we can make a massive declaration, a very massive declaration of my commitment to serve in the government of Dr. Samoei Ruto and his KK government.
Let's now cross borders, and the US President.
That's what is happening, or that's what is going on, or that's what is just getting to hit. I want to hear from you, please. Or I want to get to understand in the comment section and also other places. What do you feel about this? What do you feel that is connected to this? What do you feel is conjunction to this? Hii ni kunoma. This is so serious. We may thinking that our nation is going on well, but there is a problem. Please let me listen to you. Let us just have a conversation. Who do you think is best? Who do you think is supposed to take over the ODM? Who do you think is supposed to stand in the gap? Or who do you think is supposed to be there and who is not supposed to be there? Everyone is saying like this. Others people are saying like this. Others are saying like this. Others are complaining like this. So, what is it, or what it is? Nani anatosha? Nani hatoshi? Nani anastahili? Nani hastahili? It's getting much crazy in nation, and people standing there for different capacity and different strengths. So, what do you think is all this about? Please, I want to hear from you, because Kenyans, I want to listen to this lady very well. This lady, she's expressing herself very well. Very, very well. Listen to this lady very well.
Kati ya Ruto na Sifuna, nani anaweza lead ama nani anafaa kulead ODM? Tumieni akili. Sifuna ameran na baba. Mpaka Raila Amolo Odinga alikuwa anasema, Sifuna akisema ni ODM imesema. ODM ikisema ni Sifuna amesema. Sasa hizi mnakuja kutuambia ati Ruto amekuja tena kuwaibia ODM. My friend, ajane kutupima akili. Mimi nimeforward for 15 years kwa ODM. 15. Nimeanguka na baba mara ngapi? Tatu. Hatujawahi kuwa president. Alafu sasa hivi eti mnakuja kutuambia Ruto anakuja kusema sasa hivi eti alikuwa member. Ameharibu, imagine. Ameharibu kwake. Sasa hizi ndio kuja kuharibu ODM. My friend, mkiweka Ruto ODM, inaitwaje? ODM. Ruto inaenda kubaki na wabunge watano kama venye Fort Kenya na nili ibaki na wabunge watano Western.
Kama mtaleta Ruto ODM, what is the future of this nation without Raila? What do you think is coming up without Raila? How do you see the state of the nation without Raila? How do you see the future of this nation without Raila? I want to hear from you, please. Let us watch this.
The Deputy Speaker, Trans Nzoia County, thank you very much for making time. We have Bruce Ogweno, a youth governance expert, asante sana for making time. And then we have Mark Ouko, Youth Affairs Coordinator at the National Students Council of Kenya, thank you for making time. And Mgeni Mboto Hassan, Communication Strategist, thank you very much for making time. We're still waiting for Muthoni Mburu, a lawyer. As soon as she comes in, we'll drop her into the discussion. But we'll start off now. And Mokai, I'll start with you on this. What are some of the lessons we learned from Raila Odinga's life and times, from your perspective as a young person?
One of the lessons you learn, there are many lessons to learn from Raila Odinga, but one of the lessons you learn from Raila Odinga is how to lead a nation even when you don't have responsibility. How to stick to principles even when they harm you, how to create relevance for more than 30 years and yet being the face of the change that you believe in. Raila Odinga, to me, was not just a presidential aspirant, was not just the leader of ODM. Raila was Baba, and Baba means father. By father, it means the ability to lead the way even when you are not popular, the ability to nurture even when it hurts you, the ability to carry the nation with you, even when it doesn't benefit you. I've said elsewhere that Baba had the ability or the tenacity to sabotage himself for country. Many a times has he taken a hit for something that could have benefited him. Start with the 1992 coup. He was blamed for it somehow. It led to his 10-year incarceration without trial. Go to 1997. He shelved his ambition to support Moi. Seems like a selfish move, but that was needed for unity of country. In 2007, it is touted, and it's true that he won the election. If he wanted, he could have sticked to it and said that I must be sworn in. But he sat and said, look, this country is bigger than me. and he did it the way he things he did were not for himself, but for posterity and for the future of this country. He said no to the first Kilifi draft of the constitution because he believed it was not the right constitution. Then he came and fashioned himself into the 2010 constitution, and here we are. In 2013, he won a petition to challenge the election, which led to an order that the election be done again. Then he realizes with the same referee, I'm not doing myself justice, I'm not doing my people justice. Then he steps out. Who among our people or our leaders that are now here can tower that high and do things that people think they are selfish? In the 2024 June maandamano, everybody was saying, please God, Raila should not join. If he was a selfish politician, he could have joined the maandamano and made it bigger and even more dangerous. What does he do? Walks to his competitor and chooses to sabotage himself once again for country. So I see a colossus. I see someone who we should emulate, and I dare say it will take a lifetime to find another Raila Odinga.
Okay. We'll talk about that maandamano in just a bit, because there's a thin line between sacrifice and sabotage. So we'll talk about that in the perspective from the young people in a short while. But let me bring in Honorable Mwale on this. How do you remember Raila Odinga?
Thank you. I think as a young leader in this republic, I remember Raila Odinga for the leader that he is, a great statesman indeed. And I can summarize his entire life into one sentence, that as leaders in this country, if we don't sacrifice for the country that we love, then eventually the country that we love might become a sacrifice. Raila Odinga in his entire lifetime has proven that he has been a patriotic citizen. He has sacrificed most of his time, most of his efforts towards defending democracy and also fighting for the common good of the people in this country. Just as my brother here has said, that when we needed multi-party democracy, Raila Odinga was there to fight for the Kenyans. When we needed a new constitution, that is in 2010, Raila Odinga was there to speak on behalf of the Kenyans. When we needed electoral reforms and justice in the election systems in this country, the same Raila Odinga was there to speak for us and also to advocate for a better country. So as a young leader in this country, then my biggest interest is only to replace Raila Odinga, but then to think about how better as an individual can we be from learning through the experiences of Raila Amolo Odinga. So even in his death, Raila Odinga still stands as a great influencer and also an icon in the lives of the Kenyan people.
Okay, let me bring in Bruce on this. Bruce, how do you remember Raila?
Thank you very much, Trevor. First and foremost, let me send my condolences. It's still fresh to us as a community and as a country. And some of us, we have not accepted that reality that is gone. But I remember him, when I hear the name Raila Amolo Odinga, I see the democratic space. I see a democratic man, a man who gave it all to create a space that on the last moment, that space turned against him. The reality is that having sacrificed all to ensure that a young Bruce somewhere, a young Dedan somewhere got a voice, that voice last year when the country needed statement turned against him and criticized him harshly. It is very unfortunate that he didn't have time to reconcile with these young people, and he didn't have time to really get the young people know why he made such particular decisions. But to some of us who are really exposed to the political situations and the political environment in this country, we understand and we appreciate the decision he made. So we owe him a lot. And Trevor, I want to remind each and every Kenyan that Raila Odinga, the physical is gone, but his spirit is still with us. His vision and his dreams, his aspirations are still shaping and going to shape Kenyan politics.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that, the reconciliation you're talking about with the young people shortly as well. Mgeni on this. Mgeni, how do you remember Raila?
For me, I would like to remember Raila as a legacy, because he was the foundation of what now we can call democracy, democratic multi-party. It was the foundation of why, as a young people, we can actually sit here and talk freely about so many other things. He was the foundation of why we're pushing ourselves, or we want to take up this leadership position, but not based on you wanting to be a leader, but based on ideologies that he stood for. And for him, it was not about the title. So even right now, when we speak as young people, we need to remember it is not about the title. It is about the substance of wanting to become a leader. It's about what ideology are you bringing, what impact do you need to have so that people can actually call you a leader or for deserving to be that title. So for me, I would like to remember him as the father that planted the tree that we are actually sitting on that shade right now. We are at an advantageous position or an advantageous generation because of the legacy that he laid the foundation for. So it is important for us to understand that not only do we need to follow the footsteps that he was laid, it is important for us to understand the enigma behind, the substance behind every political handshake movement that he did, every political sacrifice that he did. It was meant, and he had only one principle that he always lived by. Kenyan comes first. The people comes first. And I believe if every one of us internalize that and envision that Kenya comes first, I believe there's so many things we will be able to fight. The 10-point agenda will be easy to implement. Corruption, all other things that is ingrained, because integrity for him came first. That is why he said, the people of Kenya come first.
Okay. Mark?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today. First of all, let me take this opportunity to send my message of comfort to Mama Ida and the entire family in this great mourning period. How I recall Raila Amolo Odinga is a man who had been integrated in two forms. There is Raila Amolo Odinga, the persona, and there is Raila Amolo Odinga, the institution himself. If you think about Raila Odinga, the persona, you think about the personal traits. In fact, the people who are mourning Raila as the persona are people who had a personal conviction with him, you know, the family, the friends, you know, close associates. And Raila as a person was a down-to-earth man. He is a man who could be having tea with, you know, President Emmanuel Macron in France, you know, he'll be in African Union discussing with the African presidents. The next minute he is in Kamkunji, you know, talking to members of Bunge la Wananchi. In fact, I was telling some people if Raila Amolo Odinga was alive today, he would be just laughing with Mutahi Kagwe and saying, you know, he has seen much worse than, you know, that. If you think about Raila Odinga as an institution, Raila Amolo Odinga, I think if I to reiterate what all my colleagues here have said, Raila Odinga was an individual who fought for the fundamental rights for nearly all the, you know, possible spaces you could think for. Even if you come here to the media space, the fundamental, you know, rights that revolve around freedom of speech. Raila Amolo Odinga is one of the people who aggressively fought around that, you know, go to the political space, you know, democratic space. So in my preamble thoughts about Raila Amolo Odinga, he is a man who integrated himself in two forms. The persona trait of Raila Amolo Odinga that, you know, was such a great character, and Raila that, you know, was a larger than life character, the institution himself.
Okay. Now joining us is Mudoni Mburu. She's a lawyer. Mudoni, how do you remember Raila Odinga?
Thank you very much, Trevor, for having me. It is indeed a sad day, week, okay, with the passing of the Right Honorable H.E. Raila Amolo Odinga. For me, I think during our generation, we just found him as Baba. That's the name that sticks whenever I want to talk about this great statesman. And what I remember about him, or just what I have as a memory, is his laughter. That man was a comedian. He was a hilarious person. He was one of those people who could get away with saying anything. I think because of him being an elder. So he could say things and we would feel like we would want to get inside our chairs and hide. I'd remember Baba as a great statesman, a champion for democracy, it has been said here before, an implementer of Article 10 of the Constitution, a great man, a humble, gentle giant, a person who would listen. He really took the literal interpretation of akwo, the Greek philosophy of listen. And I remember him as my mentor and friend. And I don't know, he really listened. And this is the kind of leadership that we want from our nation and our leadership, that they listen. I think it's because he felt that he would give speeches wherever he would go. So every other time he would form a small circle, he always wanted to listen. I think he wanted to understand the youth of this nation. What are they saying? What are the issues? So that by the next time he goes on that podium, he will crack a joke and we will all laugh at so many things that he said. He really resonated. I agree with the sentiments that have been said before. He resonated with from the weakest, from the lowest to the highest. And there's so much that can be said, but it will not be sufficient to celebrate this enigma, this great person, this great statesman that we really thank God we were able to live through the life of Raila Amolo Odinga. Okay. And let me take this opportunity, because it cannot be said enough, to pass my sincere condolences to the nation, because indeed a great tree has fallen. To Mama Ida and the family, to my friend Junior, to Rosemary, to Ida, Winnie, and the entire staff that got to work with Raila Amolo Odinga, and indeed the entire nation. Okay. Let me reach there for now.
Okay, we'll talk about that. And you mentioned something interesting, that leaders should listen. And I'd like to know from you whether the leaders currently are listening to your issues. But let's bring in Mukaya again. Mukaya, this issue of sacrifice, you're the one who started it off, and you talked about the 2024 Maandamano, and there was a bit of a concern, even Bruce raised it, said that there needed to be some reconciliation with some young people. Just switch on your microphone there and then let us know, where do you draw the line between sacrifice and sabotage? And was Raila given his flowers when he was alive, or is it different now?
I think as a people, I don't know whether to scale it down to us Kenyans or even Africans. There's a saying in Swahili that says, kufa usifiwe. People have good things to say about you, but the first qualification is that you have to die first. And we were very unkind to Raila when he was alive. We attended his rallies. All of us. Raila could appear somewhere and everything stops. But did we attend his polls as much? The first thing we do when government goes wrong is ask, where is Raila? But did we trust him with the power that we want? Or we thought his role as a donkey is to carry burdens, but we never thought he's good enough for Napier? Did we appreciate the role of Raila in the lives that we live today? Times were there when you could say people could not whisper about government. People could not imagine of the death of a president. People could not imagine of a presidential election. But Raila chose to make it the purpose of his life to give us that space. Right now, you can tweet against the president and still walk around. You can tweet against, you can say things that are not kind to government and still walk around. We don't walk around in fears that people will hear things about government and then our lives and then will disappear. Yes, those has happened, but there is that space that we enjoy, that sacrifices of people like Raila, not single-handedly, but the biggest character in that fight. So we didn't give him his flowers. You talked about sabotage and sacrifice. We don't look at the 25th of June 2024 wholesomely. We are running with a single story that is popular. It is popular to be critical. It is popular to be in the opposition. But again, the president once said, which is a statement we chose to misinterpret, that if there is no Kenya for you, there is no Kenya for me. We were in parliament. We reached parliament. We were looking at going to State House. Did we ever think the end of the marches that we were doing? The Maandamano started as well. We were against the finance bill, which was punitive for everybody across the board. Ourselves, our parents, our children, the whole country. The march, the finance bill failed. What were we targeting next? Did we realize that our Maandamano had been infiltrated by political players? Did we see that we were losing the white color of our flag? Did we even think about the constitution that gives us the right to do that, whether we could have it 2 days more if we breached the State House. So Raila Odinga, what seems like sabotage in the 2024 maandamano was the saving grace that saved this country that we have today. Because once the flag stops flying, the bullet starts speaking.
Okay, but nobody saw it like that. In fact, I'm referring to this particular mandamano because this is the one mandamano that was led by the young people like yourselves. And when you came out, what we heard was that you felt you were sabotaged and not supported.
Nobody felt like that because we were crowd thinking. We were having that mob mentality, and it was getting into us. It was heroic to destroy things. It was heroic to rob shops. It sounded heroic to do things that otherwise could be illegal. Did we think about how many people lost jobs because of their shops were looted? Did we think about what next once Ruto goes unconstitutionally? Did we think about how many examples are there in Africa of states that have gone through revolutions that have ever come back? Look at our neighbors, Somalia. Look at Libya. Look at other states, even beyond Africa, Iraq, Iran, that have gone through popular uprising. How long does it take to rebuild? We really play around the peace and the peaceful transition of power that we have enjoyed. Nobody among us have survived. The worst we went was 2007, but that was, if you compare that with other revolutions, the revolutions that we have seen and the revolution that we desire, it's worth to say that 90% of us cannot survive 1 month in a foreign country, because then you realize your degrees cannot be recognized. You don't have capital to start a business. You are looked at as a foreigner. People in East Africa don't like us that much. Then this country is our home. Without this country, and that's right, what Raila saw that we didn't. Without our flag flying high, our options are so limited. Okay. So that is what Raila saw. And when you say there is a thin line between sabotage and sacrifice, I see sacrifice in Raila. And that's why he was Baba. He could see not what is popular, what we need. He could see not what we want, but what is needed for this country to remain as a republic.
Okay. And Mwale, you put it in one sentence. You said that if we don't sacrifice for the country itself becomes a sacrifice.
Yes.
When Raila was alive, this was a mixed reaction on how he reacted to the 2024 mandamano by the Gen Zs. In fact, most of the Gen Zs, even Bruce has said that he needed to reconcile with the young people, because at the time when they were doing exactly what he's been known to do, he stopped it and said that this is the time when now we need reconciliation because the country was heading in the wrong direction. How then do you balance those two? And why didn't he receive his flowers when he was alive? And is it any different now? Or is it because now the legacy lives on, so people speak from the other side of the mouth?
I think Raila Amolo Odinga as a person is one person that you really need to understand. And that is what we Kenyans are getting it different. You know, Raila first was the father of democracy, this republic. And democracy means that we can agree to disagree. And even when we disagree, we still remember that we are Kenyans as a people. It is not right to say that Raila Odinga came on board during the Maandamano period to stop the Maandamano. In fact, my entire life, I have known Raila Amolo Odinga as the true inspiration for me as a young person to go to the streets and demand what is actually my right. In the early years, immediately after Kenya gained independence, Raila Amolo Odinga was amongst the activists who went to the streets and called out the late President Moi to introduce better leadership into this country. When the cost of living was so high in Kenya, and Kenyans could not afford a living, Kenyans could not get their basic rights, Raila Amolo Odinga called out on Kenyans to come out and demonstrate, picket, so that we can call the government to action. Even when we thought, or when it was said that election malpractices were done in this country, elections were allegedly rigged, Raila Amolo Odinga called upon the Kenyans to peacefully demonstrate so that the entire world can know, and also called upon this country to have a new genesis on matters concerning electoral justice. So when the Gen Zs went to the streets to demonstrate, I believe that Raila Amolo Odinga supported the demonstrations. There is no point that Raila Amolo Odinga criticized or condemned the Gen Zs, even when President when President Ruto himself called the demonstrators criminals. The Right Honorable, the late Raila Amolo Odinga, did not criminalize the Gen Zs. He remained quiet and silent until when the president decided to act. And when the president realized that it was wrong to force the finance bill upon the people, that is when Raila Amolo Odinga decided to with President William Ruto, and then that culminated into the broad-based. But let us not be too quick to forget that in the utterances of the former Prime Minister, he did not condemn the people from participating in demonstrations. I believe if Raila was alive today, and if any oppressive regime took over, or the government passed any laws that would jeopardize the freedoms of the people, Raila Amolo Odinga would call upon the Kenyans to go to the streets and demonstrate, because that is the only power that the Constitution gives us. And let's not speak about as if it is wrong for the people to go to the streets. I would go to the streets tomorrow. I would go to the streets today if it meant that I would give a better future for my children. Okay. And we must never forget that Raila Amolo Odinga taught us this. And remember that Raila Odinga was the party leader of ODM. And ODM stands for Orange Democratic Movement. Since the KANU regime, we did not experience a party that stood for ideals until Raila Odinga formed ODM. And those people in government, let me be precise and say that the ruling regime must never ever think that the people will always remain silent because we are being told that demonstrations would lead to anarchy, demonstrations would lead to chaos, demonstrations would maybe lead to a military regime. Of course, it is a risk that we may face, but that does not mean that the government now takes advantage of the calm nature of the people, instills fear to the people, and then passes some legislations that are very oppressive, decides to overtax the people, decides to deny us our basic rights, only because we should fear that the country could plunge into chaos. We have had leaders that have sacrificed for this country. We have had other leaders like Raila Amolo Odinga who would want to see a country that is progressive, a country that is peaceful. But Trevor, when does peace begin? I think peace begins in our minds, not in the streets. We could be having very calm streets. We could be having very good roads outside there. But provided the average Kenyan, the Wanjiku, does not have peace of mind, cannot fend for their families, cannot afford medication, cannot afford education, then it means that we do not have peace in this country. So let us remind the leaders in this country, I being one of them, that if we do not do the right thing, if we do not live up to the promises that we made to the people will go back to the streets and they will demonstrate until those that are in charge can listen to them.
Okay, and we'll talk about what is the right thing to do now, because you've mentioned it. But for now, to take a quick commercial break, I'll come back with you, Bruce, because you also mentioned this issue of reconciliation with young people and the rest of the panelists as well. Let's take that quick break. We're back with much more in just a bit. At Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Daybreak. That's how you can reach us. We're talking about the future after Raila and what else needs to be done by the young people, because now the mantle has been passed to them. All right, see you in a short while. You mentioned something interesting, that leaders should listen, and I'd like to know from you whether the leaders currently are listening to your issues. But let's bring in Mukaya again. Mukaya, this issue of sacrifice, you're the one who started it off, and you talked about the 2024 Maandamano, and there was a bit of a concern, even Bruce raised it, said that there needed to be some reconciliation with some young people. Just switch on your microphone there and then let us know, where do you draw the line between sacrifice and sabotage? And was Raila given his flowers when he was alive? Or is it different now?
I think as a people, I don't know whether to scale it down to us Kenyans or even Africans. There's a saying in Swahili that says, kufa usifiwe. people have good things to say about you, but the first qualification is that you have to die first. And we were very unkind to Raila when he was alive. We attended his rallies. All of us. Raila could appear somewhere and everything stops. But did we attend his polls as much? Did we were the first thing we do when government goes wrong is ask, where is Raila? But did we trust him with the power that we want? Or we thought his role as a donkey is to carry burdens, but we never thought he's good enough for Napier? Did we appreciate the role of Raila in the life that we live today? Times were there when you could say people could not whisper about government. People could not imagine of the death of a president. People could not imagine of a presidential election. But with Raila chose to make it the purpose of his life to give us that space. Right now you can tweet against the president and still walk around. You can tweet against, you can say things that are not kind to government and still walk around. We don't walk around in fears that people will hear things about government and then our lives and then will disappear. Yes, those has happened, but there is that space that we enjoy, that sacrifices of people like Raila, not single-handedly, but the biggest character in that fight. So we didn't give him his flowers. You talked about sabotage and sacrifice. We don't look at the 25th of June 2024 wholesomely. We are running with a single story that is popular. It is popular to be critical. It is popular to be in the opposition. But again, the president once said, which is a statement we chose to misinterpret, that if there is no Kenya for you, there is no Kenya for me. We were in parliament. We reached parliament. We were looking at going to State House. Did we ever think the end of the marches that we were doing? The Mandamano started as well. We were against the finance bill, which was punitive for everybody across the board. Ourselves, our parents, our children, the whole country. The march, the finance bill failed. What were we targeting next? Did we realize that our Mandamano had been infiltrated by political players? Did we see that we were losing the white color of our flag? Did we even think about the constitution that gave us the right to do that, whether we could have it 2 days more if we breached the State House? So, Raila Odinga, what seems like sabotage in the 2024 Maandamano was the saving grace that saved this country that we have today. Because once the flag stops flying, the bullet starts speaking.
Okay, but nobody saw it like that. In fact, I'm referring to this particular Mandamano because this is the one Mandamano that was led by the young people like yourselves. And when you came out, what we heard was that you feel you were sabotaged and not supported.
Nobody felt like that because we were crowd thinking. We were having that mob mentality, and it was getting into us. It was heroic to destroy things. It was heroic to rob shops. It sounded heroic to do things that otherwise could be illegal. Did we think about how many people lost jobs because of their shops were looted? Did we think about what next once Ruto goes unconstitutionally? Did we think about how many examples are there in Africa of states that have gone through revolutions that have ever come back? Look at our neighbors, Somalia. Look at Libya. Look at other states, even beyond Africa, Iraq, Iran, that have gone through popular uprising. How long does it take to rebuild? We really play around the peace and the peaceful transition of power that we have enjoyed. Nobody among us have survived. The worst we went was 2007, but that was, if you compare that with other revolutions, the revolutions that we have seen and the revolution that we desire, it's worth to say that 90% of us cannot survive 1 month in a foreign country, because then you realize your degrees cannot be recognized. You don't have capital to start a business. You are looked at as a foreigner. People in East Africa don't like us that much. Then this country is our home. Without this country, and that's what Raila saw that we didn't. Without our flag flying high, our options are so limited. Okay. So that is what Raila saw. And when you say there is a thin line between sabotage and sacrifice, I see sacrifice in Raila. And that's why he was Baba. He could see not what is popular, what we need. He could see not what we want, but what is needed for this country to remain as a republic.
Thank you for staying with Daybreak. We're having a conversation of the life after Raila Odinga from the young people's perspective, and the young leaders who are with me here already in studio. Tieno Mokaya is an advocate of the High Court on the upper deck. Honorable Obed Mwale is a member of the County Assembly of Matisi Ward in Trans Nzoia. He's also the Deputy Speaker of Trans Nzoia County Assembly. Thank you for making time. We also Ogweno, Youth Governance Expert. Asante sana for making time. Mgeni Moto Hassan, Communication Strategist. Thank you for making time. Mark Ouko, Youth Affairs Coordinator, National Students Council of Kenya. Thank you for making time. And Muthoni Mburu, Advocate of the High Court. Thank you very much for making time. And Bruce, I was coming to you on this. When you started by describing who Raila was, you mentioned that he created a democratic space that eventually turned against him. I'd like to hear what you meant by that. And also, when you said that he needed to reconcile with the young people at the height of the Mandamano, who was right between Raila's direction and the young people? Because the young people wanted this to continue to the logical end, notwithstanding that nobody knew what that logical end was about. But then Raila said that this is the time for reconciliation. The young people protested this.
Trevor, normally they say that age comes with wisdom. And first and foremost, before it skipped my mind, there was the element of, did he get a flower? That brings something to my mind that really life is a fickle. At the point that President William Ruto saw it fit that this is the time for the gentleman to get a flower, death came knocking. And one thing that we must appreciate as a country, and particularly as young people, is that we have a cohort of very few men who are ahead of us, who lived and walked the talk of a democratic space, lived and walked the talk to build a country that can hold for its generation. That generation is us and the Gen Zs. It is unfortunate that at the time that this country got chaotic, we really didn't pause to ask ourselves, what is the war? What are we fighting for? That is a question that many of young people today really still don't understand. We might be talking about that we want life to be easy on Wanjiku, as my brother was saying, but where are we as a nation, and where are we headed to, and where have we come from? How has it been before? We are moving from a state where we want to come from third world country to a developed country. What are the sacrifices that people at that particular time in that movement have to put down? We must also acknowledge that we had our forefathers who made sacrifices to fight the colonies. They laid down their lives for that, and that actually made other people have entitlement in this country. So the generation today, if we are moving Kenya from a third world war country to a developed country, what are the sacrifices we must make? Is it about paying tax? Is it about making a decision to give much for our country, for a future generation that will be talking about us like we're talking about Raila today? Raila in his death should be a lesson to many of us. This is a man who has struggled in the streets. And I wanted to remind my brother that I've been in the streets for 15 years. Trevor, I'm not going back to the streets. I can say that Raila being on the streets for more than 30 years has gotten fruits and has given us platforms that we can raise issues beyond going to the streets. We have platforms at the legislative framework, assemblies or whatever, where we can air issues and see. At some point in this country, when we started the movements as the youth, some years back, we were saying we wanted a space to be where the cake is baked and cut. That time, for example, if you looked at the National Assembly then, majority were people who were above 50. Today, we have a good number of young people who are youthful. That is a platform. We need to be asking them questions. Even if there were 10 or 20, that is enough to address the issues that we feel we should take from the streets or get from the streets. Every now and then, we want to take a decision as a country and young people that the solution is in the streets, we are making a wrong decision. And we will have nothing to show because the street destroys. Just like my brother said that the streets will raise the flag, but it comes a time the flag goes down and the bullet goes high.
So when you say you're not going back to the street, is this because you're done fighting for the rights, or is it because now you're passing the mantle to the younger generation? Is it because Raila is now no longer there, therefore your watch is done, your fight is done?
I'm not going to the streets because already they have platforms set that can address the issues that even the Gen Zs are calling us to address. The issue of economy, there are platforms we can address it. There are conversations we can have, including the presidency has lowered its down to a point that we can engage him directly, formally or informally. And we're normally privileged to get to have information, to challenge the government, to seek clarification from the government. So Trevor, there are dark days when we didn't even know what the government was planning to do. There are dark days that Raila and the team walked through this country that we didn't even know what a budget was. Today, every Kenyan, every youth has a budget. What more responsibility do we need to do? We just need to check and say, if we had, for example, 10 million targeting development of youth programs, where has it reached? Who are the youths that have benefited? So we have a platform that is already created. We have policies that are in these countries and the laws that are in these countries that we just need to follow up on how best we can do it. And as you take back, I wanted to say that where Raila sits right now in the cold, I think much of what we need to do is to have a self-talk to us as a nation. Raila had the option of joining the streets, but on asking a big questions that if Ruto goes, what next? That means he was pointing to us that are we going to water down the constitutional gains we've had in this country? Are we going to sweep them under the carpet like that? Because we have a process even of removing the president. Right, even in the assembly. Yes.
Okay. Let me bring in Mgeni. What you said earlier on is almost related to what Bruce is raising now, saying that it was never really about the title, but more about the ideology of the person who holds that title. Have things gotten better since Maandamano in your estimation?
I would like to look at it this way. See, the sacrifices and the legacy and the foundations that he intentionalized, laid down, it would be an insult for this generation and the Gen Z to go back to the streets, because he already did that for us. He made it so easy for us to be sitting here right now. So the sacrifices he's made for this country should be us giving his flowers in a way that he has already done the sacrifices, because he's already done the protests and maandamano to get us where we are. The multi-party democracy had to go through that. He got us here. And every time he sacrificed, he was not sacrificing because or was sabotaging himself in any way. He was not about that title. He was sacrificing because he was looking at the other generations to come. So when our father sacrificed for us so that he can give us something to start with in our lives, it would be an insult for us not to take that legacy. See how he built it, on the ideologies that he built around it. Find out what is the best way forward to pave this. Example, when he said that, I'm sure he said that maandamano was the way to go in one or two other editions. But when he felt that it is not the protest, the Gen Z protest, when he felt like it was losing, the streets was losing the credibility, because there was a lot of infiltration in it. When he felt that it was losing the credibility, because some people, opportunistic political class, started taking advantage of a very, very genuine movement and decided to use it to get titles and the entitlement that they deserve. For him, he said, now, let's come together. Let's unify it. And the framework that I'm going to lay down before you is anchored in the very constitution that we have already fought for. So where do we need to start? We need to start in the areas of how do we now move forward. And that is where the 10-point agenda comes in. The NADCO report comes in. Because he understood that we've already put up a lot of platform, we've already put up policies, we've already put up administrative and all the systems. We are now here talking about a beautiful system called devolution because of him. We are here earning those fruits because of him, of the tree that is planted, the shed that he's giving us. So it would be very insulting to his legacy. Okay. And it will not be us giving his flowers. For us to give him his flowers is actually, in our community, when an elder dies, people gather around together. They come together in this homestead. And they sit there in the shadows of the place they actually was and analyze what is it next for us in the future. They don't go fighting every other relative and every other person because the heir has died. Okay. They sit and antagonize and understand what was it that he was fighting for and how can we now embrace that. See the sacrifices made, take it upon us and advance. Okay. So for me, I will say that it is important for young people to look at, have we intentionalized and acted to understand the Constitution? Have we really understand devolution? Where should we also anchor our so-called protests or our cries? Should we not now cave it into our regional representation or our representation in the devolution and actually now put a lot of people accountable? Yeah. Put MPs accountable, put MCAs accountable, put governors accountable, because that is the whole concept of why we have devolution. Okay. And not mirror everything around a national platform that has already been decentralized in that manner.
All right. Mark, have things gotten better now since the Maandamano in your own assessment, or is it bado mapambano, the way His Excellency Simba Arati mentioned in Kisii? You actually mentioned this during the burial. He said that the fight is still going on. But as a young person yourself, since the Maandamano and the protest and everything that came after it, all the sacrifices that people made, have things gotten better?
I think, Trevor, before I answer your question, there's something I think very important I left in my preamble remarks. I think it's very important, and give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. It's very important that we really do appreciate what President Ruto, and I think this was even lamented by, Governor James Orengo, in coordination with, people like Deputy President and PS Raymond Omolo, the stature, the state burial that was accorded to Raila Odinga, albeit not even deserves this, albeit not being a sitting president or even a commander of the military. What President Ruto did for Raila Odinga is something I think people from my community will not forget. And in the infamous word of President Uhuru Kenyatta, we shall revisit at the right time. Now, back to your question. I think Raila Odinga spoke for a silent, for how do I call it, the silent majority of Kenyans. And I think, in my own words, I think there was a social illusion that was created that Raila Odinga was hated by young people, which is not true. Even if you look at the magnanimity of how people turned up when they had Raila Odinga died, young people loved Raila Odinga. And I think, in my own assessment, I think there was a social algorithm that was created by some people. In fact, in the infamous word of Raila Odinga is that the ferment has been created by people who also believe they have to be in power. But going to your question, have things got better? In my own view, I think the country is in a much stable place. And even if you are to give much other geographical reference, do countries which have, successively done a coup, a civilian coup to remove those in power? Look at Nepal, look at Bangladesh, and I think more recently a country such as even Madagascar. Are those countries in a more stable place? The answer is no. And I think this is where, in his own wisdom, to reiterate even the words that was being said by my brother, Odinga was trying to give us the bigger picture. If our country was able to disintegrate into chaos, into a state where there is no civilian government, the other side doesn't look better. And I think the broad-based government has been able to stabilize the country. There is much more cohesion. And I think what Raila Odinga was also alluding to in his ideological belief is that, albeit we do disagree in our views and our opinions, let us respect the Constitution. And it is not a far-fetched idea, even if you want to remove somebody in power. the quickest example is Rigathi Gachagua. He was able to be impeached. It's not like we do not have constitutional means where when somebody is incapacitated in power is not being able to remove. And this is what ideological Raila model stood for. Let us respect the constitution. And he says this, and in my final remark perhaps, that it takes a day to destroy a nation, but the process of building a nation is a lifetime investment.
Okay, Mudhoni, have things gotten better in your assessment?
Let me say that in the words of Winston Churchill, that leaders are dealers of hope. And if there's anything that Baba sold to the masses and to the Kenyans was hope. He was really a dealer of hope. He would tell people, we are going to Canaan. We are going to Canaan, meaning that there'll be a time when things will be better, you know? Even if he didn't live through to see the of everything that he championed for. And that also shows the successful nature, or the nature of success and how intergenerational, how each generation has a role to play. So he played his part, took the nation to a particular point. The late Odinga and Kenyatta played their role, took the baton to the likes of Martha Karua and Baba. Now the baton has been passed to the young people. And will things get better? Will we still go out to protest? I've had that debate of, will we still go out? Oh yes, we will still go out and protest when things are not right in our nation. We will exercise what we have been given by Article 37, because that is what Baba has championed for. Through his life and through what he fought for, we have seen him through and through the detention, through the fight for democracy, through and through, we have seen Baba fighting for. He has been fighting even for the media, the members of the Fourth Estate. And even during the demonstration, did he condemn some aspects of the demonstration? Oh yes, he did. He did protect and defend Article 37, but still went ahead to criticize heavily the police excessive use of force. He did condemn that. Did he condemn the lives that were lost? He categorically came out and stated that what had happened, he called for the government to do that. And part of even fighting for Article 37 and the right to protest, we have come forward as advocates, as leaders, to even exercise and call for habeas corpus when people are being abducted. So the fight will not end with the passing of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And let me also send this as also a symbol of hope to the nation and to the people and to the young people. If we look at all these other developed countries, they have indeed come a long way. America being one of the examples of the countries that we look at and we see, we have seen them having so many years. Europe also as a continent, we've seen over 400 years. Kenya is barely 65, I believe, less than 65 years old. We have a long way to go. And each Kenyan citizen has a responsibility to play in making the Kenya that we want, or that Baba envisioned.
Okay, Mokaya, let me bring you back on this. And this question I want all of you to respond to. Have gotten better since the maandamano? Because this is really the crux of the matter. And you can mention the one thing that you think has worked, because even on the front page of the Daily Nation, you can see another cabinet reshuffle is looming, Ruto after Raila. There's still some level of separation of the issue of have things gotten better or not. Are they better or worse now?
That is a very direct question, yet a trick question, because better is better. It depends on what you're looking at. It also depends on the angle that you're looking at it from. Their drivers, when they see the empty signal on the tank of their car, they'll tell you, I know my car. The drivers, when they see a half tank on the car, they say, we need to add some gas to this car. So are things about to get better? That is a function of many moving parts. But again, as my fellow panelists have said, maandamano or even protests are a constitutional right, but it's a qualified constitutional right, peaceably and unarmed. Towards what? Presenting petitions to administrative bodies, not towards somebody's shop, not towards somebody's life, not towards breaching parliament, not towards breaching State House. So maandamano will do, but we'll do maandamano for a reason. We'll not do maandamano because that's the cool thing to do. We'll do maandamano because we have been aggrieved. But before we go to the streets, I'll advise my people, especially the people of these age groups, to use the tools that we have. The first tool we have is elect people of sensible character to parliament. Have you taken your first step to a better country by taking your vote? Number 2, have you presented yourself for elective position? If you have not, have you voted in, not to vote people out, have you voted for good leadership? Have you voted for someone in parliament with capacity to understand the effect of the laws that they pass? Because we can't wait to say that the president has signed into law what your parliamentarians did not comment on. Was your parliamentarian, did he have capacity to comment on the finance bill? Did he have the capacity to read and comprehend what it means for you? If a law has been passed that aggrieves you, I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Before I go to the street with a flag, water and an iPhone, have I gone to court to seek conservatory orders to stay the execution of that law until the issues that I have been addressed? There's public participation in our constitution. When Parliament advertised for memoranda to be submitted, did I continue to watch my Netflix movie, or did I take time even to use the tools that I have, including AI, to create a memoranda that speaks on my behalf and send that to the speaker, so that I say that the parliamentarian that I voted, who's so brilliant and educated, did not speak for me? Then the president that I voted for, not the president that I voted out, the president that I voted for, did not sign to law the law that I deserve. Then as a lawyer, I'll say I went to court and I was not heard. And if I went to court that I was not heard, also my memorandum was overlooked, then what is my option? Take the memoranda myself through song, dance, demonstration, and then deposit it in parliament. So that is the hierarchy of actions.
Yeah.
You don't start by wailing, you start by talking. Because when we start talking to each other, then peace is an option. When we start talking at each other, somebody will say, my people, when you hear somebody from where I come from say, kwa hivyo, unataka aje? It means it's about to stop. We are about to stop talking. So that is the hierarchy of steps towards changing this country. But we can't be lovers of anarchy. We can't be lovers of anything that is it's disorderly. We have lives to protect, we have Kenya to protect, and we have a constitution that's so elaborate, touted to be one of the best constitutions in the world. First, use it. Let's test the limits of the constitution. Let's test the boundaries of the constitution. Then go to maandamano. Is our lives better? Your life and my life as a young person are a reflection of how much effort I put, how much opportunities I take advantage of, how much I do to better myself. It's not a function of government. It's not a function of the politique. There's no politician whose biggest role or biggest duty is to change my life. The politician or government is to create an enabling environment so that everybody who puts effort gets success. Everybody who tries to better themselves realizes the results. If I want to be a doctor, I won't wait for a politician to make me a doctor. I go to school, I work through the free primary education, I go to university through the HELB scholarship, then I apply for that job, then I become a doctor.
Okay. I see Mudhoni has a concern about that. I'll just write it down. I'll come to you so that you talk